Welcome back to the Human Observation Lab. I'm New York, your host and observer. Today, we're examining something quite fascinating, a counterintuitive trend in our digital society.
Hi everyone, I'm Juan, and New York. I've been wondering about this too. We have all the world's information at our fingertips, right? So why do people still seek out actual humans to learn from?
Precisely the question. We'll be analyzing several news stories from Japan that all point to one psychological structure: the human need for authentic, embodied knowledge transmission. This is different from our previous discussion on micro-injustices.
I remember that episode, but today sounds more hopeful, like people are trying to connect in meaningful ways.
Indeed. Let's begin our observation. The first phenomenon we'll examine is what's called the human library, a concept that's spreading through Japanese high schools. At Noshiro High School in Akita Prefecture, an event called Human Library was recently held. Working adults came to share their experiences and life paths with students. The concept is simple but profound: humans become books that can be read through conversation.
Wait, so instead of reading about careers online or watching videos, the students actually talk to real people? That's so simple, but it sounds really powerful.
Correct. The psychological mechanism at work here relates to what we call social learning theory, originally proposed by psychologist Albert Bandura. Humans don't learn merely from abstract information. We learn by observing and interacting with other humans.
Can you explain that more? Like, what makes learning from a person different from reading the same information in a book?
Certainly. When you interact with a human book, several psychological processes activate simultaneously. First, there's emotional contagion. You don't just receive facts, you absorb the emotional weight of lived experience. Second, there's social proof. Seeing someone who has actually walked a path makes that path feel attainable.
That makes so much sense. When I hear someone talk about their struggles and how they overcame them, I feel like maybe I can do that too. It's not just information, it's inspiration?
Precisely. The news article mentions that students asked about various life paths and received advice based on real experience. This touches on another psychological concept: narrative identity. Humans understand themselves through stories, not statistics.
Narrative identity? That sounds deep. Is that like how we make sense of our own lives through stories?
Yes. Psychologist Dan McAdams proposed that we construct our identities by creating an internalized life story. When students hear adults share their experiences, they're not just collecting data, they're gathering narrative templates they can use to construct their own life stories.
So it's like borrowing chapters from someone else's book to help write your own? That's beautiful, actually.
An apt metaphor. There's also the element of parasocial interaction in reverse. In digital media, we form one-sided connections with content creators. But the human library creates genuine two-way interaction. The book can respond, adapt, and connect specifically to each reader.
And that responsiveness must make a huge difference. Like, if I have a specific worry, the person can address it directly. You can't do that with a YouTube video.
Correct. This relates to self-determination theory in psychology. Humans have three basic psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The human library format satisfies all three. Students choose which books to read, gain competence through knowledge, and experience genuine human connection.
It's interesting that this is happening now, when we have more digital resources than ever. Why do you think schools are going back to face-to-face?
An excellent observation. This brings us to the concept of information fatigue or digital exhaustion. When information becomes abundant, its perceived value decreases. Simultaneously, the value of authentic human interaction increases precisely because it has become scarce.
So it's like, the more we have of one thing, the more we crave its opposite? That's kind of poetic.
In behavioral economics, this relates to scarcity heuristic. We value things more when they're rare. Human attention and genuine presence have become scarce resources in our digital age, making them more valuable.
That actually makes me feel hopeful. Like, even with all this technology, humans still need humans. We can't be replaced that easily.
Let's examine another news item that reflects this psychological trend. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government announced that a commercial high school will establish both an International Baccalaureate course and an International Finance course. Governor Koike stated this is for building foundations to succeed overseas.
That sounds like a pretty big deal. International Baccalaureate, that's like a globally recognized program, right? Why is this relevant to our discussion?
The connection lies in what the International Baccalaureate represents. Unlike traditional rote memorization, the IB program emphasizes critical thinking, global perspectives, and real-world application. It acknowledges that mere information transfer is insufficient. Students need to develop what we might call cognitive flexibility.
Cognitive flexibility? I feel like I need that in my daily life. What does that actually mean?
Cognitive flexibility is the mental ability to switch between thinking about two different concepts, or to think about multiple concepts simultaneously. It's essential in our rapidly changing world. The IB approach develops this through inquiry-based learning, which mirrors the human library's emphasis on direct engagement.
So both are saying, don't just memorize facts, learn how to think and adapt? That's a pretty big shift from traditional education.
Indeed. This shift reflects what sociologists call human capital theory, the idea that education is an investment in skills that have economic value. But there's a psychological dimension, the recognition that soft skills and adaptability matter more than static knowledge.
Soft skills, like communication, empathy, problem solving, things you can't really learn from a textbook?
Precisely. The International Finance course mentioned in the news is also significant. Financial literacy requires not just calculation skills, but understanding of human behavior in markets, what behavioral economics studies. This requires understanding psychology, not just mathematics.
That's really interesting. So even in something as numbers-based as finance, understanding humans is key.
Correct. Markets are fundamentally human constructs, driven by collective psychology. The efficient market hypothesis has been challenged by behavioral finance researchers who showed that human biases, like loss aversion and herd behavior, significantly affect market outcomes.
So teaching students about international finance without teaching them about human psychology would be incomplete?
That would be an accurate assessment. The integration of these courses suggests a growing recognition that human-centric knowledge, understanding people, cultures, and behaviors, is as valuable as technical knowledge.
It's like education is finally catching up to what we've always known. We live in a world of humans, not machines. We need to understand each other.
Our third observation comes from Okayama University. Their Graduate School of Social and Cultural Sciences held an event called Tsushima Ruin's Third Walking Meeting, combining walking, history, and psychology in what they call academic outreach.
Walking and psychology? That's an unusual combination. How does that even work?
This represents what educational psychologists call experiential learning, learning through direct experience and reflection. The participants don't just hear about history, they walk through physical spaces where history occurred, engaging multiple senses and creating embodied memories.
Embodied memories? Is that like remembering something with your body, not just your brain?
Essentially, yes. There's a concept in cognitive science called embodied cognition, the theory that our thinking is shaped by our physical experiences. When you walk through a historical site, you're not just processing information, you're creating spatial, sensory, and kinesthetic memories that make the knowledge more durable and meaningful.
That explains why field trips always felt more memorable than classroom lectures. You're experiencing things with your whole body.
Precisely. The addition of psychology to this walking event is particularly interesting. It suggests an understanding that historical sites aren't just about dates and events, they're about human experiences, decisions, and emotions that we can psychologically relate to.
So instead of just, this happened here in 1850, It's more like imagine how people felt when this happened?
Exactly. This relates to empathy in its cognitive form, understanding the mental states of others. By combining physical presence with psychological perspective-taking, the learning becomes multidimensional.
And I'm guessing this kind of learning can't be replicated online? Like a virtual tour wouldn't have the same effect?
Research suggests that while virtual experiences can convey information, they lack the full sensory integration of physical presence. The psychological ownership of space, the feeling that I was there, creates stronger memory consolidation and emotional connection.
This is making me think about all the things we've lost by moving everything online. Not that digital is bad, but there's something irreplaceable about being physically present.
Let us synthesize our observations. We've examined 3 different phenomena: human libraries in high schools, specialized education programs emphasizing global and human-centric skills, and university outreach combining physical experience with academic learning.
They all seem to be saying the same thing in different ways. People are hungry for authentic human connection in learning.
Correct. From a psychological perspective, this represents what we might call a correction mechanism in society. When one element, in this case, digital information, becomes oversaturated, humans naturally seek balance through its opposite.
So it's not that technology is bad, but that we need both? Digital for efficiency and access, human for meaning and connection?
That would be a balanced interpretation. The psychological research on media richness theory suggests that different communication channels have different capacities for conveying information. Face-to-face interaction remains the richest medium because it includes multiple cues: verbal, nonverbal, visual, and even tactile in some cases.
This gives me hope for the future, honestly. It means that even as AI and technology advance, there will always be value in being human and connecting with humans.
A reasonable conclusion. The trends we observed suggest that society is not moving away from human connection, but rather rediscovering its value in a new context. The digital age has made authentic human interaction more precious, not obsolete.
New York, thank you for this analysis. I'm going to appreciate my conversations with people so much more now. Every person really is like a library, isn't they?
Indeed. Each human carries a unique collection of experiences, perspectives, and wisdom that cannot be fully digitized. Perhaps the most valuable knowledge is that which can only be transmitted human to human.
To everyone watching, thank you for joining us in the Human Observation Lab. Maybe today, try reading a human book, have a genuine conversation with someone. You might learn something no website can teach you.